Hello everyone, welcome to another lecture on C++ programming language. We are on lecture 25th on C++. And in this lecture, we're going to discuss about another conditional statements in C++, which is if, else statement. And we are on lecture 25th. So on lecture 25. And in this lecture, we talk about another conditional statement in C++, which is if, else if, else statement. So in our program, if we have more than one condition, or if we have multiple conditions, so we use if, else statements. So if you write a program in C++, which you have more than one condition, so for that purpose, we use if, else statement. So let's see the syntax, how we can use this in our program. So first, let's see the syntax. So it means how we can use in our program the if, else statement. So first we have if first. So as we know, the if checks the condition. So we have here inside parentheses, condition 1. This is our first condition. And then we open the if block. And then we close the if block. So if the condition, we check if condition of 1 is true, so this section will be executed, the if block. So I write here code, or I write here, statement 1. Statement 1. Then if we have another condition, so we use else if to check another condition. So we use else if. Then inside parentheses, we check another condition, which become condition 2. Condition 2. And then we open the bracket, the curly braces, and close the curly braces. And we put, in condition 2, we put the statement 2. If we have another condition, then we can use, else if again, and we put another condition. At the end, we have the else part. We have the else part. If none of, above condition is true, so the else part will be executed. So first, in our program, we have the if, the first condition. We check if the first condition is true, so this block will be executed, which is statement 1. The other blocks will be ignored, including the else. If the condition first is not true, the program checks another condition, which is the second condition. If the second condition is true, so this block will be executed. And the remaining, block for the else or else if statement will not be executed. And if we have another condition, so we can another else if and check the condition 3, and check the condition 4, and check the condition 5. At the end, we have else. If none of the above, I see none of the above. If none of the above conditions are true, so the else portion of the program will be executed. For example, let's see an example, a real example of this program using if, else, if statement. So I can write a real example of this program. So, for example, I write a program which checks, asks the user to enter a number, and then using if, else statement, we check, if that number is positive, or number is negative, or number is equal to 0. So it means we have more than one condition. We check for positive, we check for negative, and we check for equal to 0. So let's check it. Ash include. So I include ash include. So I first, include iStream library. which is input and output stream used for C in, C out is inside this, and then we use using namespace std. And now we open our, we declare our main function, integer main. Then we open the main function block, and then we close the main function block. At the end of the program, we know that we have return 0 because our main function is integer. So now I declare here a variable, and I declare a variable type integer. I say integer number, then semicolon, then I see out. I say enter a number, enter a number, okay. I ask from the user to enter a number. So this is our text inside double quote, and then we have semicolon. Then whenever user enter that number, we store that number inside variable number, which we declared here. Now it's trying to check the condition. So I check the condition, the first condition, if I see if number is bigger than 0, if number is bigger than 0, so we see out inside this block, we see out, we say number is quotation number is positive. Oh, positive. I have to enter quotation, and then we can write n-line. Yeah, so our first condition is if number is larger than 0 or greater than 0, so the if part will be executed, which is cout. It says number is positive. But we have else if another condition. We check else if the number is smaller than 0, so we parenthesis, this is a parenthesis for the if, and then we write here cout number is negative because it is, smaller than 0. End line. And then we close the the curly braces for the second condition. And now at the end we have else. We open the block of else and we close the block of else, and we see out number is 0. Then we end-line. As we can see in this program, so we first declare a variable called number, and the data type is integer. So this variable only store, whole numbers. Then we see out, we print out a message to the user, enter a number. So then user enter a number, and we store that number inside the variable number, which we declared here. Then we check. This is parentheses. So then we check. This is the parenthesis. Then we check if that number which is entered by the user. Suppose for the first time, user enters number 10. So inside the number, we have number 10. If number is greater than 0, so if 10 is greater than 0, yes, so the condition become true. When the condition become true, only, the if block will be executed. So this block will be executed, and it says 10 is positive. and other blocks will be ignored because our first condition become true. If the user, for example, enters minus 10, which is a negative 10, so now our program checks if number is bigger than 0 or greater than 0. No, minus 10 is not greater than 0. So the condition here become false. So the condition here become false because we have minus 10 inside the number. So this block will not be executed. Then our compiler or CPU goes to another block, which is else if, check another condition. In this case here, checks if number is smaller than 0. So minus 10 is of course smaller than 0, so the condition becomes true here. So once the condition has become true here, so this part will be executed. The block of second else if. So here it's print out number is negative or minus 10 is negative. If the user enters 0 from the keyboard, so 0 is stored inside number, then we check here. If 0 is bigger than 0, no, so the condition becomes false, so this section will not be executed. Then it goes to another if, else if 0 is smaller than 0 or less than 0, no, it's false, so it's become false. This condition also become false. So now both condition become false and the else section will be executed. When this condition become false, so only the else section will be executed. So here, see how it says 0 is 0, or 0 is equal to 0, or you entered number 0. So this is an example of, using if else statement. And in our program, when we need to write a program which includes multiple conditions, so in that case we need to use the if else statement in our program. So this was a simple example of using the if else statement. So in another lecture we write more example of this program, and we write more programs using if else statement. So I'm back in my computer. So let's open our IDE. So we are on lecture 25. And in this lecture, we talked about if else if else statements. So if we need more than one condition or multiple condition in our program, so we use if else statement. So let's write our first program, and I write here integer number, then cout, enter a number, so then cin, when the user enters the number, so I stored that number inside variable number, and then we check our program. So in this program we check if that number which is entered by the user is a positive number, is a negative number, or is in 0. So here I write my first condition, and here I cout if the condition is true. I say number is positive. And then end line. Then we have another condition. So else if number is less than 0, so I can write here cout number is negative, and we write our else if none of the above conditions are true, so the else section will be executed. So number is 0. So this is a simple program which we check multiple condition using if else statement. So if you can see here, we first check if the user enters positive numbers. For example, 5 is larger than 0 or bigger than 0. So this section of the code will be executed, the block of if, and other section will be ignored. So it will not be executed because this condition become true. But if the user enters -5, so this condition becomes false. So this part will not be executed. Okay. Sorry, this one is a number. So here, because I'm using Mac, so I don't have, if I use shortcut from the keyboard, like for example, if I use Control Z, it will not work. I can use from here, but from the menu, if you go there, you can, undo or redo. But so because I'm using Mac, but I'm using, a Logitech keyboard, so that will not work for me, the shortcut. So I need to write. So if number is not 0, for example, if number is not bigger than 0, like it's -10, so this condition become false. So once the condition become false, so this block of the program will not be executed, and it checks another block of the program, which is another condition. So -5 is yes, smaller than 0, so the condition become true, and this part of the program will be executed. If the user enters 0, so this condition become false, this condition become false, and because both of the above condition become false, so the else portion will be executed, which print out cout number is 0. So let's compile and run the program so we can check. So for example, I enter a number like 12, and it says 12 is positive. But if I enter a negative number, if you can check here, for example, -5, and now enter, it says -5 is negative. And if I enter like 0, so it says 0 is 0. So in our program, if we need more than one condition, so in C++ we use if, else statement.